Hello and welcome to Sim.bc, where it right now is 7:54. If there's a bit of an echo, that's because I'm in yet a new room at school. It looks like this. It's a rather nice looking room actually. See, with all the round tables around like one of these charging places. It's pretty awesome actually. It's probably one of the best rooms I've visited so far, and yet this is the first time I'm in this room at campus. Naturally, right? You find the best places when you're in need of studying before the exams. Because today, mates, I'm going to take on the negotiation exams from 9 to 12. And then we're going to have a 2-hour break. Yeah, 2-hour short break. And then we're going to move into the Management Information System exam. It's going to be so dull. You see, we have all of these questions that we've studied on in Management Information System. Then we're going to have a case, I'm going to have another thing, actor flow diagram, whatever. It's not that hard. And it's just going to be like rinse and repeat, like read the question, I already kind of know the answers. It's just about like reading and remembering when you're studying, so it's kind of not that intuitive, let's say. But negotiations, on the other hand, is something that I've actually been quite engaged in over the course of the semesters. It's going to be awesome to actually see how that's paid off now that we're actually moving into the final exam. And I locked myself in this room, so if I'm like interrupted and changing environment, maybe because I need to take this off, it's because security will come and say like, you can't lock the rooms, it's against the rules. And I'm like, I'm recording, screw the rules. No, of course not. You should follow the rules. It's not what I'm saying. I'm going to unlock it as soon as I'm done, mates. Just that you know how I am with my privacy and stuff. I'm a bit about that, yeah, not wanting people see me, recording with myself, because I think that I look like a complete idiot, right? Sitting here talking to myself in an open space, and people are going to come in, they're going to be out of context, and going to be like, he's talking to himself, he might be crazy, should we call for a hospital or something? And I'm like, no, I'm sane, but promise. My mother had me tested. No, me dad too, actually. No, but you know what I mean, that entire joke going around. But today, mates, we're going to do some final studying. I was going to say we're going to look into, but in all honesty, we're going to study the final things. So I'm going to see if I can do this without reading. So understanding company pricing strategy. Well, there are several pricing strategies that a company can undertake. And for some reason, this is in negotiation techniques. Probably because you as a seller should know what kind of pricing strategy your company has, or have, so that you can actually utilize that in order to convince customers of why they're going to move towards your company, or why you price something in the way you have, or you should understand why the pricing is the way it is, so that you don't give out too many discounts and so on and so forth. So the different pricing strategies, then getting into it, is penetrating pricing, premium pricing, economic pricing, competitive pricing, and this cost plus based, and it's cost-based margin, and then we also have optional pricing, economic pricing. I think it said that. So I think that was all of them. So it is premium pricing, penetration pricing, economic pricing, competitor pricing, skimming pricing as well. Yes, optional pricing, cost-based pricing, and cost plus pricing. Those are all the things I'm going to need to remember, because they might come on the exam, they might not come. In my opinion, exams is I'm not going to say bad way of testing knowledge, because it is a good way of testing some amount of knowledge, but in my opinion, since we're studying on so many things, I know a little about a lot. It would be much better, in my opinion, if they said like, study for all of this, it will be on the exam, and then like a week or 2 days before the exam, they're going to be like, these are the 3 main things that are going to be on the exam, focus on these, so I can actually deep dive into some of the concepts. Now, I've done that kind of anyway with this format, because I've actually utilized it and thought about it before recording it, thought about it after recording, re-listening to the recording, so I kind of reflected on some of the points and some of the ideas in this course already. But yeah, I think that would be a better way of doing it. But I'm sure there's a lot of flaws in that approach as well. But getting into it then, yes, as I said, I'm drifting away. It's double exam day today, so I'm a bit nervous, the adrenaline pumping, Premium pricing. High prices reflect exclusiveness. What does that mean? Well, it's basically, if you think about Apple, if you think about wouldn't say Microsoft per se, but if you think about Blizzard Entertainment, perhaps I know I'm using Blizzard a lot, but just bear with me, right? Not sponsored. But if you think about Apple, for instance, when you're buying an Apple phone, since they're like steadily increasing the price each and every year on their phones, that is to reflect that is an increase in quality, sure, but you're also kind of buying the brand, and since the brand is getting bigger and bigger and more valued or evaluated to be worth more and more, you're also kind of adding that onto the price, and you're kind of buying the brand each and every time you're buying a phone as well. So that's high, like it's supposed to reflect its exclusiveness, even though many people have an iPhone, but I understand, or Apple products, but I kind of understand the way they're marketing it. But in my eyes, they're still a premium product, even though many people have them in my social circle, so to say. Next one is penetration pricing. It's about initial low prices to gain a market share and then increase them later, because technically, or not technically, but usually I would say in the format that we've been taught, when you're utilizing penetration pricing, you're either selling for a loss, like Elgiganten and MediaMarkt and Sibad, NetOnNet did in Sweden. Don't know if those are any of companies that you will recognize, but we have this kind of, what you would say, electronic suppliers, no, not electronic suppliers, but electronic store that they sold TVs, they sold kitchen appliances, they sold consoles, PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, whatever, and they sold like all of these things. They sold computers as well, everything that had with technology to do. And since it was such a high competition in Sweden at the time, they started with selling with a loss, all of them, and they sold with a loss for several years in order to gain market share. And then now I think it's Elgiganten, at least in my neighborhood that I grew up, that is the only one left in that town, and now they've increased the prices steadily. So they used penetration pricing for a long amount of time to gain the market shares, and now they've later increased the prices to actually reflect, actually making a profit. And this is of course only possible either in a very short amount of time if you're a new startup, or during a longer amount of time if you have like a mother company or a parent company or a shell corporation in another country or in the same country that is actually providing you with profits during the time that you're selling with a loss. Okay, you see that we're at 7 minutes already. Okay, so economic pricing, low prices as a philosophy, basically is low prices. We're still selling with a profit, right? But we want low prices. Basically, if you see about this Porter's cost-based leadership, you want to be under the competition. Competitor pricing, speaking about the competition, fixed in relation to your competitors, either above, the same, or below your competitors. Basically, what you want to do, you're looking at competitors and you're saying, they're selling for 200 and we're going to sell it for 202, or 200, or 198. So you're fixing your price according to the competitor's pricing and saying either we're better, we're lower, or we're the same. And that's also conveying a sense of what is the quality of our product. If it's higher, then perhaps we're perceiving it as a higher quality, because if we are a higher quality but yet set a lower price, people might reflect on that. No matter the specs inside of the product, they might be thinking, this is kind of sketchy that they're selling it for a lower price than their competitors, even though they say they're better. Why aren't they selling it for a higher profit? You know what I mean? People are getting thinking twice about buying your product if you're pricing it lower than your competitors, if it's quality, if the quality is better. Then they think that you might lack in some other regard, in some other respect. Skimming pricing, initially high pricing, skim the profits, and drop pricing and skim again. So this is basically if you're thinking about PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo Switch, Amiibos, phones for that matter. They're coming out and they're costed here, right? They're cost of $10,000, let's say. That's something ludicrous as that. And then as times progresses, they decrease in price, either because there is a new version of it coming out, like the PlayStation Pro, the Xbox Scorpion, Xbox X, something like that it's called, I think, and the Nintendo Switch instead of the Nintendo 3DS, and we have the Apple iPhone 10 instead of the Apple iPhone 7 or 5 or 4 for that matter. So the iPhone 4, for instance, has decreased in price over the years because new versions of it has been introduced to the market. So this is skimming pricing, in my opinion. Introduce it at a high price and then lower it as the time goes on, skimming prices yet again. Optional pricing, customer buys a basic product and then can add on options. Now I would say the best example of this is buying cars, right? Because you can buy the base version of the car. And then you can, like in Volvo for instance, you can buy, I don't remember, I'm not that good with cars actually, but I know that there is one Volvo car that is like the base car, and then you can get the Avicii Volvo or something like that, and it has maxed out on all of the possible options that you can add to the Volvo. It costs like twice the amount. No, I don't remember, don't quote me on that, but it's a lot more expensive. So basically optional pricing is that you're starting off with the base product, and then as you add on more options it will cost more and more. Well, it could cost less and less in theory, right? But I don't think that's a viable business plan. If not, you adding options that it's actually benefiting the company, that, oh yeah, you can take this is our byproduct, we're going to pay to get rid of it anyway. But that's very fringe. Usually it is just hourly-based product and then increasing price as options increase. Then we have cost-based pricing and cost-plus pricing in the end. Cost-based pricing being add up all the costs and then include a markup to fixed price. Now, when I started studying this was kind of the only solution that I had in mind when I thought about products. I thought, yeah, of course, you add up all the costs and then you just add a margin on it. And then you will make sure that you make a living out of it, that you make a profit. I would argue that economic pricing and competitor pricing kind of the same thing, and that penetration pricing and premium pricing are based on the same idea, and skimming pricing as well, and so is optional pricing in a way. But you know, it's different. They're different here, so just keeping the terminology straight. Cost-based pricing is adding up all the costs, including the markup to fixed price. Now, yet again, in my opinion, that's how all of cost works, because that's how you calculate that you're getting a profit in the first place. Cost plus pricing then, take into account the cost plus percentage profit or margin, and that's basically thinking about the profit margin that you're adding on to, and take that into account when you're calculating costs. So that was basically it, mates. That was different ways of viewing cost-based pricing. No, not cost-based pricing, cost-based. You know, that's the only one I know, actually, really. No, but that's a different way of viewing competitors' company pricing. I'm so into pricing, you know. Yet again, the adrenaline. I'm blaming that if it's rambly. Yeah, you're thinking about the how a company is pricing their products, their services, and so on and so forth, and these are the way they can do that. Now I'm going to say that I'm definitely going to do a review of all the exams tomorrow after my sustainability exam. I'm really feeling it, right? And if I do a video before the sustainability exam, I will definitely do the review video on Saturday. So have a nice one, mates, and I'll see you tomorrow, either before or after sustainability, depending on which I will provide you with a review, or, well, not. I will provide you with something else that's equally as exciting, right? Have a nice one, mates. See ya.